Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, first of all, I'm in Blackpool here at the moment. It is currently Wednesday. We're about to leave in an hour to go to the House of Secrets. Ryland Thea are doing their next show. Ryan's just walking past me. Say hi, Ryan. And so they're getting ready. They're getting ready for showtime. But I didn't want you guys to be without a Q&A, so we're filming it here in the B&B. Not the B&B, the Airbnb, the house that we've hired. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is I'm going to take all of your questions and answer them. Now, if you've never seen a Q&A before, you get my raw and filtered opinions. Now, what I mean by that is if there's a question, I think needs to have a longer video, I will do that as a longer video in the future, right? It's not like I'm researching these questions ahead of time. You're getting an off-the-cuff answer. The other thing is, try and get the questions in as quickly as possible. Like I said, it's Wednesday today, and I typically film these on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. If I miss your question, I'm very sorry. Please ask it down below and I'll get back to it next week. And I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that's watched this channel, anyone that's subscribed, anyone that said hey, or interacted in any way. It's a difficult thing to do, running a YouTube channel this size and constantly putting out content, and the reason I do it is because of you guys. So thank you very much. Now, with that all being said, it is time to get into it. It's time to get into this week's Q&A. So the first question is from Spooky Kid, who says, I did it, Craig. I performed live. I've been a hobbyist for most of my life. I'm 55. I was deathly afraid to perform for people. I got more seriously into the hobby about 10 years ago, but your advice has pushed me to do it. Basically, I did mix and mingle casually in a little table work, packet tricks, rubber band magic, and a performance with the Savant deck, which freaking blew people's minds. I got actual applause, as well as a subtle mentalism thing with an Adverdi die, and a performance with the Reaper by Yalakazam. It went so good. 2 days later, I'm still high on the feeling. Can't wait to do more. Thank you. And also Justin Miller. He elevated my card magic and helped me from time to time. You guys are the best, and you've changed my life quite a bit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So first of all, that is amazing, and that's why this channel exists. The thing with magic, and I say it on this channel all the time, but it's important to hear, magic is a performance art. It just is. The stuff that we learn, yeah, it's fine to be a hobbyist. It's fine to be somebody who just learns secrets. It's fine to be a historian. It's fine. That's absolutely, there's not a problem. There's room for all types of people in magic. But honestly, at least from my experience, there is no bigger buzz than going performing for people, whether it's 2 or 3 friends in your living room or it's walking on stage in front of 1,000 people. There is no bigger buzz than walking on stage and performing and giving it 100%. And look, 10 years, but you got there. That is absolutely incredible. Justin is a phenomenal magician. He is. You don't need me to tell you that. So, following Justin's advice and following my advice, you're definitely in safe hands. And it sounds like it's an amazing set. Now, get out there and do it again. It's a little bit, it's a little bit like riding a bike. You want to get back on there. So, look, you've got that buzz. Go out there and perform again. Go out there and perform again. And the more you perform, the more you're going to enjoy it. But, congratulations. That's all I've got to say about that. Macaulay Knight says, another fantastic video, Craig. Thank you. Thank you so much, Macaulay. If you're ever in North Wales and you go to the Magic Bar, you'll see Macaulay and his dad on a Friday night. They are great magicians. They really are. I believe Macaulay is the current stage and close-up magician at the North Wales Magic Circle. So, Macaulay, thank you so much. Okay, Alejandro Ramiro says, hi Craig, thanks for answering my question about friends and family. On a similar matter, most tutorials on YouTube only focus on the move, but not on the performance. Would you do a video about performance nuance, like weight shifting, shoulders alignment, how to display a coin, fluidity of motion, fluidity of moves, pausing for the effect, etc., etc. I hope I've made myself clear. Yeah, you have. And you know what? It's really smart to ask a question like that. That is something I can definitely do a video on. What you're talking about here is how to take a good performance and turn it into an incredible performance. You see, the key thing to making a performance great isn't by learning 1,000 sleights. It's not by learning that routine over and over and over again and performing it until you can't perform it anymore. It's about looking at every single individual moment and seeing what you can tweak and how you can add to make it even better than before. John Gustafaro talks about this. He talks about a 1 degree shift, taking something and shifting it by 1 degree, which will ultimately make a massive change. You know, I've talked many times on this channel about justification and how it's really important to have justification for every move you do. You know, if you're picking up a deck of cards just to put it down again, you know, laymen aren't stupid. They'll pick up on that. If you don't have a justifiable reason why you're picking up those cards before you put them down again, well, you know, that's going to ultimately affect your performance. So fluidity of moves and economy of motion and justification of moves, all of that is very important. I also think it's just as important to separate the moment of magic, the perceived moment of magic, from the actual moment of magic. You see, the actual moment of magic is when you do the move. The perceived moment of magic is when the audience thinks that the trick happens. You want to have as much distance as possible between that. So if I was going to take a key, for example, and I was going to vanish this key, the actual moment of magic is when I do the vanish. But the perceived moment of magic is when I open up my hand. You want to have the perceived moment and the actual moment of magic separated as much as possible. If I did the vanish and then open my hand immediately, there's going to be more suspicion on this hand than if I just did the vanish, looked over here, focus attention over here, and slowly make it disappear, because now there's no connect between the two things. Look, we could pick up on so many different things. We could talk about planting your feet and not walking around on stage and looking and creating eye contact and moving with purpose, and all of this stuff is very important. I'll definitely do a video on it, but the thing that I have to say is the questions that you're asking right now are the correct questions to ask if you want to be an incredible performer. Okay, Artful says, for anyone starting out, here are 3 purchases to practice every day for a month. And he says cheetah chips, which will teach you transfers and transferring cards and coins. The bag reborn, add a jumbo coin. Sponge balls with a large sponge ball added. All of your skills in those 3. The first 2 are by Craig. Cards for basic routines, some self-working, 2 simple packet tricks. With the above, you can easily have a 45-minute show. Well, thank you for shouting out a couple of my routines. And you know what? I have to agree with you. Bag Reborn is amazing. You know, if you're a walk-around performer, Bag Reborn and cheetah chips, you could easily do a half an hour, 40-minute set just with those, without the sponge balls and the cards and the packet tricks. Heck, I'm going to tell you something right now. So I've got a close-up job on Saturday. I'm in Blackpool right now. Sunday. So I'm in Blackpool right now. Ryland Thea performing in Blackpool today. They're performing in Blackpool tomorrow at the House of Secrets, then the Tower Ballroom. Then on Saturday they're going over to Butlins, and they're doing Butlins. And then on Sunday, I've got a close-up job, and I'll be going straight from Butlins, and I've forgotten my close-up case. And there's no time for me to go home to get my close-up case. So I'm going to be using just 1 deck of cards and a Sharpie. I've got a pack of cards here. I've got a Sharpie with me. And I'm going to do an entire 2-hour close-up gig with just a pack of cards and a Sharpie. And I don't have any concern or worry about it at all, because I know I can do that inside out, back to front, upside sideways. You know, I think it's really important to try and have such an eclectic range of material, because you never know what situation you're in. So thanks for shouting out my tricks. I kind of agree with you. Okay, next question is David W. Hey buddy, hope you're well, who says, hey Craig, hope you're well. Yes, I am, thank you very much. It was great to see you, by the way, at J Day. You did a phenomenal job. And he said, hope you are. Just wanted to comment on how brilliant Ryland and Thea were at J Day. Thank you so much. I'm biased. I thought they were good as well. I had a blast hosting the close-up competition, and the standard was so brilliant across the day. So great chat. Also seeing the atomic deck in person is killer. Thank you so much. I said to you the day, you did a great job hosting the close-up. David had to host the whole close-up show. The close-up competition, and kill time between each act, but he wasn't allowed to do magic. So it was just a case of chatting off the cuff, which is not an easy thing to do, and at the same time making it entertaining, and you did an amazing job. And yeah, thank you for the kind words. I hope you enjoyed Keymaster. My question is a hypothetical one. Let's say you're booked to do a magic workshop for young people with no experience of magic. What would you teach them? How would you get them interested and also come away with some strong effects? Well, I do magic workshops. And let's say I was doing a 1 hour magic workshop. I would make sure that the first 20 to 25 minutes is a show. And I would make it really, really cool, full of the best material that I do, aimed specifically at the age range of the people that are at the event. So if you're saying young people here, if it was sort of 7 to 10 year olds, I'd be using a different type of material than I would do if it was sort of 10 to 13 year olds, 13 to 18 year olds. I would select the material very specifically. I would also not do any kids magic tricks. Because I'd want them to kind of make the show really relatable, if that kind of makes sense. So I'd start with a 25-minute show. That does two things. One, that grabs their attention. Two, it allows me to do a warm-up so I can make sure they understand what I need them to do and how I need them to act. And also importantly, it establishes credibility. They know I'm not just some bloke walking in on the street, but I'm somebody who knows how to do magic and that I'm actually going to be able to teach them some cool stuff. Then for the next 35 minutes to 40 minutes, what I would then do is I'd run the workshop. And I'd start off by performing a trick, and I'd start off by performing it with a presentation. Then I'd go through in front of everybody how the trick works, breaking it down step by step and making that explanation interactive. And I'll give you an example. The first trick I always do in a workshop is the cut and restored string, and that's the one where you've got two pieces of string and you show the two pieces of string and you give them a pull and they go together into one piece, and it's to do with taking the middle of the string and separating it into two sections, frayed, and then, you know, it's a really good trick. It's a classic, right? And I always tell a presentation of when I was younger, I wanted to be an illusionist, and my mom and dad wouldn't let me lock people up in a box, and so I had to come up with my own way of doing it. But I've always wanted to be a stage illusionist, so I'm going to try and do that now with this piece of string. So I tell the presentation of the trick, I perform the trick. Then when I'm explaining it, I say, right, okay, so does anyone have any idea how this trick works? We all need a piece of string. I'm going to give you a string in a minute. We need a piece of string. So what's the first thing that we have to do? We have to show two pieces of string. Now, I'll tell you right now, there are never two pieces of string. There's only one piece. So how can we make one piece look like two pieces? Put your hand up in the air if you know. And I'm getting them to try and come up with the answers. And a lot of the time they don't, but I'm having them think creatively. What would you do? How could you make one piece of string like two? Fold it in half, very good. But then we've got this bit here in the middle, and people would see that and realize that there's actually two pieces of string. So that one piece of string, so that wouldn't work. What else can we do? Oh, we could do that. You know, kind of going down that kind of route, if that makes sense. So I teach how the trick's done in a very, very interactive way. And then I talk about presentation, and I say, look, the important thing with any magic trick is presentation. You heard me talk about being a stage illusionist because that's what I do. I do stage illusions. So with that in mind, I want you to think of a presentation that fits you. It could be, for example, that you went ice skating. Who likes ice skating? It could be that you went ice skating. And when you went to go on the ice to go ice skating, your lace snapped, and the ice skating rink wouldn't let you go on the ice with a snapped lace, and you didn't have another lace, you didn't have another pair of boots. Luckily you're a magician and you did this and the lace was fixed and you're able to go ice skating. That's a perfect example because that brings what you're interested in into the presentation of the trick. Now, I'm not asking anyone to talk about ice skating, but think of your own presentation. I then give out string to everybody and I have them practice in pairs and perform it to each other. And I'm going around and watching and making sure people are doing it correctly and listening to people's presentations. And then I bring one or two people up to the front to perform in front of everybody. And I give them a big introduction. And then I say, brilliant, you can keep the string. Let's move on to something else. And the first trick I always do is the string trick. The second trick I always do is a very simple three-way out with an envelope. So I have 3 cards in an envelope and one of them's got a cross on the back. There's a piece of paper in the corner of the envelope that says you will pick, and there's another card, one of the other cards, and then one's written on the back of the envelope. So I do a very simple three-way out. And I explain then how it works. And I give them the envelope, give them 3 cards, give them a marker pen, and I give them a piece of paper, and I get them to write it out themselves. And then same thing. So it follows the same thing. And I typically will have time to do 3, maybe 4 tricks. And each time I'm getting a couple of people to perform to the front. And I'll typically do the string trick, that's one that I do. The 3-way out mentalism trick, that's one that I do. Cups and balls, just the penetration thing using plastic cups and little post-it notes, that's one that I do. Jumping rubber band, that's one that I do. The old pen behind the ear where you take the coin and you go, look, I'm going to make this coin disappear. 1, 2, 3. And this is too big, this is a Sharpie. 1, 2, 3. And I tap and I turn my body to my side and the pen's disappeared. And as I turn around to show the pen, I put that in my pocket and I come back and I do that sort of thing. I kind of vary up those tricks. That's what I do for a magic workshop, and that's been a format that's worked for me for probably about 20 years. Okay, Adonis Berabond says, hi Craig, thanks for answering my question last time. Since you do some work with schools, you might be able to help with this. I've been approached by a school to entertain 7 to 10 classes in one day. For what they described, they will rotate the classes in and out of the room where I'll be performing. So we're talking about 7 to 10 20-minute shows within a short period. My question is, how would you handle the set list, and how would you handle pricing? P.S. This is in the early stages of conversation. Well, I would be pricing for an all-day event, because this is basically an all-day event. So whatever you want to charge for all day, that's what you'll charge. Now, bearing in mind, it's probably in the week, so you might want to give them a bit of a discount on that because it's weekday work, which is cool. But I'd be charging for the whole week. I'd be charging as a day rate. That's what I'd be doing. Whatever your day rate is, that's what I'd charge for a whole day. In terms of what I would be doing, I would probably, if you're talking about 20-minute shows here, I would probably have, you typically, in a school, so you've got about 7 to 10, 20-minute shows. In a school, normally, you've got nursery and reception. They get kind of put together in early years. Then you've got year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6 in a typical primary school here in the UK. Now, early years, nursery reception in year 1, I would probably do the same show too. And I'd make it very, very kiddie, because those are the younger kids, sort of 4, 5, 6. I'd make it very kiddie, lots of look, no, see, stuff like Silver Scepter, probably a colouring routine, maybe a puppet routine, something like that. Then years 2 and 3 and possibly 4, I'd be doing the same sort of thing with this as well, with that age as well, and I'd be kind of upping it a little bit. So I'd be doing still really fun, easy to follow magic, but I'd be doing it with slightly different prompts. I'd be doing stuff like Timmy toilet paper. I'd be doing stuff like Pop Hayden's linking ring routine. I'd be doing stuff like 20th century silks. That's what I'd be doing with that set. And years 5 and 6, I'd probably be doing kind of more of a young adult cabaret style show for that age. So you're talking like my Destination Mistake routine off the Netrix, my the world's greatest sponge ball routine from my book Absolute Madness. Cards Across is something I'd be doing. Maybe even some sort of book test type thing I might be doing for that age range. A multiple selection routine, chop cup or cups and balls would work as well. That sort of thing would be perfect for that sort of age range. And if you want to go bigger props, I'd be doing stuff like the Wonder Makers teddy bear production chair, vanishing bottle, that sort of thing. That's what I'd do. So I'd have 3 sets, one for the younger kids, one for sort of the middle of the road, and one for the older kids. And I'd make the stuff very, very easy to reset. If you think about all of those routines that I just mentioned to you, every single one of them is easy to reset, which is really important, because when it comes to gigs like this, and I have done gigs like this before, you don't have much of a turnaround. The next group are coming in as the previous group are leaving. So make sure that it all resets very, very quickly, and have a bottle of water, because you're going to need plenty of water. Okay, so Hungover Ammerfort says, where is he? There you go. Hi Craig, I've got another thought for the guy with a question about the pass who just got into magic. For many years I practiced all the card stuff I can do, but I only perform it for other magicians because it impresses them. Not so much with lay people. Actually, in my performances to lay people, my acts are 90% self-working tricks and a maximum of 2 or 3 card items. Actually, I think card magic is more of a hobby. Marlowe was a hobbyist. Ortiz was a great card man, but when you watch his act live, you still wondered, can he do something else? I'm sorry, Ryland is right. Card magic is boring, not to do, but to watch. Yeah, you know what? I remember doing a video a little while ago at the start of this channel in lockdown where I went, card magic is boring. And I don't actually think that card magic is boring. I think card magic is great. You know, you look at somebody like Dan Charge, you look at somebody like Paul Gordon, they do exclusively card magic and they get great reactions. And, you know, some of my strongest tricks are card tricks. You know, just with a regular deck, you look at card to pocket, you look at you look at card into box, you look at multiple selection, you look at ambitious card. The list goes on and on. So there's some great card magic out there. I don't think card magic is boring. I think there's no such thing as boring tricks. I think there's such thing as boring performers. I think that you can take any trick. I can pretty much take any trick and make it engaging and interesting. Now, that's not to say that I'm the greatest magician of all time. I'm not. But I know how to be entertaining when I'm performing. I know what I need to do and what I need to say to make something entertaining. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you to a point. That's why I love doing other types of magic and not card tricks. But I do love doing card tricks, especially in close-up. So, yeah, I get it. I kind of disagree. I think that I think a good magician, a good performer, can take any trick, regardless of whether it's a card trick or not, and they can make it interesting. On a side note to that, by the way, just thought, Jackie Yu, I've seen him perform several times now. I saw him perform at J-Day on the Gala Show. I saw him perform at South Tyneside on the Gala Show, and he's closing his show with his card in pocket routine. Just a card in pocket routine, ending up with card in mouth. And here's Jackie Yu, who's got incredible ability to perform almost anything, and he's doing that, a card to close his gala show. That tells you everything that you need to know. So, yeah, I agree, but I kind of disagree as well. Okay, Hungovian and Amerford says one more thing to add to my previous post. The self-working effects I do in my work for laymen, a Savant deck, Quantum deck, and Svengali project, and a few others you might be familiar of, Evoke Cube 52, even considering the terrible Atomic deck as a closer. Maybe that softens the sting of me saying Ryland is right in calling card magic with difficult sleights a hobby, or just a magician fooler, which of course is the same thing. Yeah, look, I love using gimmick decks. Absolutely 100%. I've released so many of them. I've got projects on so many gimmick decks. I love gimmick decks of cards. I mean, you look at the Penguin Holiday Special last year and you'll see some of my favorite effects with gimmick decks. And I had the ability to do anything there, and I showcased that. And that should tell you everything that you need to know. Having said that, I'm going to say it again. You know, like, if I was put in a room and I had a choice of any gimmick deck of cards or a regular deck of cards and I could perform any routine, and I had to impress the most important person in the world, and that would massively affect my career if I got it right, I would grab the regular deck of cards and I would do card in the box, which is not the easiest routine in the world to do, and there's a fair bit of sleight of hand in it, but I would do that because I know just the reactions I can get from that trick. So I totally agree with you in one respect, but I disagree with you in another. But that's what magic's all about, right? Okay, DMB Magician says, thank you very much for answering my question in depth. You're more than welcome. You nailed it at the end of the answer. I found a set of tricks I want to perform and what I won't bother performing. There's no frustration from my end on the practice and learning, as I'm a sponge at the moment, and I'll take the advice on board of the classic pass, as that makes perfect sense as to when I'll use it. I'm now finding the lane I want to take with my magic. I'm showing everyone at work the tricks and they're going down really well. I'm naturally very comfortable talking and interacting with people, as I am the point of call for all customers in my business. So I'm going to use this and start performing socially. That's great, man. That's awesome. I remember you coming into the House of Secrets and being very eloquent as well. So yeah, look, here's the thing. Just go and perform. I say the same thing to you that I say to everybody, including Ryland and Thea. Flight time. The more you do something, the better you are going to get at it. The more you perform, I'm going to say it again. The more you perform, the better you are going to be. Okay? So just flight time. Do something a million times and you're going to get so good at it. And look, I can see the passion's there, and ultimately passion is 99%. Okay, so the next question is Robert Francis Magician, who says, "Hi Craig, hope you and the family are well." Yes, thank you very much. I was watching one of Ryland's videos, and in the background he had a trick with a Coke bottle on it. I was wondering, what is the effect? You're amazing, and thanks for the hard work you do. Savant Deck is my favourite release to date. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. You're the man. In terms of the trick, the thing I think it probably is water to Coke. Ryland's actually put that into his cabaret show. So he's actually put water to Coke into his cabaret show. So whenever something goes into my show or Ryland's show, it's definitely going to be in there, whether it be the kids show or the cabaret show. We normally have 2 or 3 of them. So back in the warehouse, we have like 3 different water to Cokes, and I think that's probably it. The other thing it could be is Frady Frame, potentially, or that uses Sprite and a Coke. So that could be a. We use Frady Frame by Smoky Mountain Magic, and on the frame is a bottle of Coke. It's a picture of a bottle of Coke, and we've got a bag, and inside the bag is a real bottle of Sprite, and they change places. So now on the frame is a bottle of Sprite, and inside the bag is a bottle of Coke, and it's a combination of Frady Frame and Joe Miranda's Astonishing Bottle. Is it Astonishing Bottle? I think it's Astonishing Bottle, the Coke thing, you know. So that's probably it. Those are the 2 Coke-related tricks he does. I don't think he does anything else with Coke. So it's probably one of those. And thank you for the kind words about the Savant Deck. I really appreciate it. Okay, so David Blaine says, good show, thanks again. Thank you, man, appreciate it. Was wondering if you performed Go Nuts by Matthew Wright, or if you've reviewed it. What's the skill level? How's the load? And is this durable? I don't do it. I've seen Matt do it. It does it brilliantly. The Go Nuts one is the walk-around version, isn't it? And I remember seeing it when it came out, and I never actually reviewed it because I don't get a chance to review everything. There's so much new stuff that comes out. But I remember thinking I liked it. But I've got so many different things to Impossible Location. I didn't particularly need another one. I have seen the load, and I have seen Michael talk about it many times, and I've seen him perform it. The load looks super clean. The load looks very, very easy to do. It's very impressive how he took a trick that's designed to be performed on stage and shrunk it down and being able to make it work in a walk-around setting. That's super clever. It's going to take up some pocket space, but yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's really good. Okay, next question is from Punkala, who says, hi Craig, hope your week has been good so far. Yes, it has, thank you. How has your character changed over the years, and how do you plan to refine it? Good question. So in kids shows, my character in the early days was just a clumsy, klutzy clown. I was a clown without the makeup. Everything went wrong. I was stupid. I was silly. And that's kind of changed over the years, and now it's kind of more of a kind of an angry, grumpy man who can do magic but gets really angry when it doesn't work, and really grumpy, which the kids find funnier and funnier and funnier. So from a kid show point of view, that's kind of the thing. From a point of view of a cabaret show, in all honesty, it's not really changed over the years. Over the years, my persona, my personality has remained pretty much the same, which is that of this con man. I mean, I'll openly say I kind of based it on Greg Wilson, who is a huge inspiration for me coming through as a cabaret artist. Excuse me. And so my character is very much of a sort of con man who, I'm able to do magic, but here's the thing. I want my cabaret show to be more about entertainment than magic. I think I do 5 tricks in my cabaret show. That's it. I do 5 tricks in a 45-minute show. And the rest of the time, I'm just having a laugh with the audience, and I'm just interacting with them. The magic is a vehicle for me to entertain the audience. And, I spend a lot of time doing crowd work. I spend a lot of time chatting to the audience and joking around and hopefully making them laugh. And so my character really hasn't changed that much. And I don't think it will, really, to be perfectly honest. I think the characters need to change when the performer changes. And what I mean by that is if you've got a character. So for example, a perfect example is Ryland. Ryland started off as Ryland the Kid Magician. He's 13 next week, and his character has changed from the kid magician he was when he first started and you saw him on Britain's Got Talent, to where he is now, where he's kind of doing illusions, and he's kind of doing the whole if you watch Magic and Mischief, it's more about he's the big brother that's trying so hard to be professional, while she's the little sister trying to annoy him. And that's kind of where he is at the moment. He went through his Harry Potter phase, he went through his kid magician stuff phase, now he's kind of there. And I think it'll evolve again over time. And I think characters, as people change, they have to. He's not a kid anymore. The kid magician thing doesn't really work for him anymore, but where he is right now, that works perfectly. So yeah, as you evolve, your character evolves, but my character is pretty much timeless. You know, it'll work up until a point. You know, I plan to retire from performing before I'm too old to be able to do my show. You know, I've got a very physical show, and there's a lot to it. And I wouldn't want to be one of those old guys that's still going on stage when he's past it. So I think I'll keep my character the way it is until I choose to retire. Okay, so the next question is Reese Whitehead, who says, why are English coins not commonly used compared to US half dollars and dollar coins? Well, there's a couple of different reasons for that. And the first reason is American coins tend to be silver. So because and we've got silver coins as well, 10p's and 20p's and 50p's, they're silver as well, but not in the same way as a half dollar. And so the half dollars catch the light really well. And if you use a silver half dollar, like a Walking Liberty, you've got that lovely little ding, you know, the sound is better with the coin as well. Also with dollar-sized coins, they're bigger. People can see them from a distance. When I'm performing to a big table, I'm always going to have with me dollar-sized coins. That's really important. You tend not to find that dollar-sized, you can get £5 coins, but you know, if you're going to use a £5 coin, why not a dollar? And they don't sound as good and they don't look as good. So, you know, the size of the coins is absolutely something to take into consideration as well. But also you tend to find that there's more gimmicks for American coins than there is UK coins. I also like, you know, when I bring the coins out, a lot of the time I'm producing the coins from nowhere. If I have the ability to produce a coin from nowhere, why wouldn't I produce a pure silver coin? And I actually say that in my presentation. When I walk over to a table, I say, look, if I take a piece of nothing and give it a shake, it turns into an American silver dollar. This is made out of 98% silver content. This is a beautiful coin. This is an illusion of quality. If I have the ability to produce anything, why not an American coin, right? Look, if you're a social performer and you perform socially and you're not a big coin worker, then absolutely 100% use English coins and just pretend you're going in your pocket and you're bringing out some coins. But for me, when I'm booked to perform, I'm booked as a magician. So my attitude is, if I'm being booked as a magician, why wouldn't I have weird and wonderful coins that I show to people? Why wouldn't I have an eclectic coin collection? You know, I've got a little silver cup, I've got some pieces of rope, I've got little balls that have got like crocheted jackets on them, I've got packs of cards, I've got God knows what. Why wouldn't I also have like coins like that? So for me, that's the reason. That's kind of the reason. But you can kind of go for whatever coins you want to. But for me, I'm always going to use American coins. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Cox Magic. It was great to see you over the weekend, by the way, Archie. Archie says, hi, Craig. Is there any way we can have two people select cards, return them to the deck and control one to the top and one to the bottom, ideally not placing them in together? Thanks as always. Okay, so what you want to have happen, Archie, is, I don't know whether, okay, I've got Sarah behind the camera actually, which is very rare. Sarah, can you see those cards there, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So let's just say you have two cards. So you want to have two cards controlled to two different parts of the deck, and you're wanting to control one to the top and one to the bottom. There's a few ways of doing that. First of all, you could put the two cards into two positions of the deck, and you could, once the cards are in two positions, you could do some sort of, you know, like multiple card control. I just control both of those to the bottom, and then all you have to do is double undercut after that, one to the top, and then boom, I've got one on top and I've got one on the bottom. By the way, I think you're a member of the Netrix. All of this is on the Netrix. All of this is in the slide section. But that's a very common multiple card control. That was, first time I saw that was vacuum cleaner cards, and obviously the double undercut, you know. The other thing that you could do is you could have, you could dribble. If you don't want them to take the cards out, you could do you could dribble down and have them say stop, when they say stop, show them the card at the bottom of the packet in the right hand and do a Kelly bottom replacement or an Ovet master move to control the card to the bottom. And then you can dribble again and show the card and show this one. And then when you put that back, you can square up the cards and you can do a side steal and control the card to the top. So in other words, just by having two cards selected from two different positions, now I've got the one on the top and the one on the bottom. So that would work well as well. You can also use a cull. So you could have somebody put the card back there, cull it under the spread, have a second person put the card back and can cull that one to the bottom. So you've got both of those cards to the bottom. And again, you could do a multiple card, you could do a double undercut. And again, you've got one on the top and one on the bottom. So that would work really well. If you want to keep it really simple, let's just say these are the two cards, the five of clubs and the jack of spades. You could cut half the cards over into the left hand and have the first card put back and control it to the bottom. So get a break underneath it and do a double undercut and control that card to the bottom. Then you can do another kick cut the cards over there. So the five of clubs is here, put that back here, hold a break between here and double undercut again. And what that's going to do is that's going to put that jack to the top and it's going to put that five to the bottom. That would be another way of doing it as well. Pretty much think that's it, to be honest. That's probably enough for you. The only other thing that I say is you could do a convincing control. So let's just again say that your cards are the joker and the five of spades, okay? So you could do a convincing control on the first card. So the jack of spades, do a convincing control and have that card put apparently down into the middle of the deck, but it's really on the bottom. And then you could do a version of the convincing control. You could have this card put back here. So this is the 10 of clubs. Have the 10 of clubs. Sorry, no, ignore me. It's the joker, isn't it? So you can have the joker put back here and you can do a Gary Jones top con control. So you can leave the cards sticking out and you can say, actually, let me put it a little bit further down and we'll put that in there and that in there. And what that's going to do is that's going to bring the joker to the top and the jack to the bottom. Yeah, so let's just take two of the cards, the three and the queen. So the three of spades and the queen of spades. So you spread through, they say stop, you put the first card back and you show it. And that's where you're going to do your convincing control to the bottom. There you go, convincing control to the bottom. Then you have the second card put back, which is the queen. You put that one back and you say, actually, we'll just bury that one up in a different place. We'll put that in there and that in there. And in the action of doing that, there we go. We've got the queen on top and we've got the three on the bottom. And all of that is on the Netrix. That was a convincing control and top con control by Gary Jones. But there's about 6 or 7 different ways of doing what you wanted there. Any of those would work, ranging from a couple of simple double undercuts all the way through to an Ovet master move and a pass. Just pick the one that you prefer. Okay, so the final question today is from Kevin's Wiz, who says, it's Tuesday, so I'm hoping I'm getting this in time for next week. Yes, you are, Kevin. I just received my karate key. Disappointed, as in the tutorial you state it comes uncut, and that's not the case. I sent a message to Penguin, and the reply was, sorry, that's just the way they've been manufactured. Do it after key cutter, as this way it's better right out the box to do it standalone. Please, when you do a video showing how to use all the key sets together, show how this routine is oversight. Thanks. So here's the thing, right? The reason when I filmed the Karate Key, and I've actually got it here, actually. So when I filmed Karate Key at Penguin, I was using an uncut key. The prototype that I used was an uncut key. We made the decision to actually switch it to a cut key. And the reason we made that decision is because so many people were contacting us having got Keymaster, which is one of the most popular tricks that I've ever released. So many people that were contacting us saying, you know, we get Keymaster, it's uncut, but we want it cut. We want the key to be cut. We don't want them to be uncut. So, you know, everyone was saying that like over and over and over again. People were saying, hey, we want to have the keys cut. We want to have the keys cut. And then when we brought out Gatekeeper, same thing. Why did you supply the keys uncut? It's costing us extra money. We want to have them cut. And so we kind of made the decision based on customer feedback to have the keys cut. Now, Karate Key is amazing as a standalone trick, and I use it all of the time as a standalone trick. If you're using it as a standalone trick, having it cut just makes sense. In fact, The karate key that I use now is a cut version. If you're incorporating it into a longer set, you can do that absolutely. My favorite way to open a set of routines with keys is to use key cutter. And the reason that's my favorite is because you start with a blank key and you turn it into a cut key. Once you've turned it into a cut key, you can do whatever you want with it. You can do gatekeeper, you can do keymaster, you can do anything. I'm loving a little set that I'm doing at the moment, which is key cutter into karate key. And that works really well for me, and that's going down great guns. I will do a video on combining all of the keys. That's something I'm planning on doing sooner rather than later, because as we expand the Keymaster universe, the KCU, the Keymaster Cinematic Universe, as we expand that, and we add more key routines, it's nice to see how you can incorporate all those together. I'm sorry if you say you're disappointed. It's one of my favorite tricks of all time. My advice is to try it. Honestly, the fact that it's cut was put in place because so many people wanted to see the keys cut. But I really appreciate your feedback, and thank you very much. So there you go, guys. That's another video in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me right here on Magic TV. Now, don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back again later on today with another video. I'm going to be back Monday with a really cool 5x5. And I want to say thank you. Thank you again for anybody who's watched any videos on this channel. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. I'll be back again very, very soon. Don't forget to join the Netrix. Now, the Netrix is my online streaming platform for magicians. Next week, we're adding 5 new tricks, including, honestly, what I think is the best 4-ace routine I have ever created. And I'm not even joking. The best 4-ace trick I've ever created. And it's getting uploaded onto the Netrix next week. If you're a subscriber, hold on to your britches. And also, the next week onto the Netrix, we're also uploading the lottery routine that so many people have been wanting to see. That's getting uploaded next week as well. So there's a ton of stuff going on the Netrix. If you haven't joined it, please go to thenetrix.com. If you're a subscriber, keep an eye on those accounts. You're going to see some stuff dropping next week. Outside of that, thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.